I am a poet. I write stories about my life and I convey them in a way that makes sense to me. Something that might be a little theatrical. In today's terms, some would say it's performative, but it's something that I've done for years now. Starting from, I think, middle school, I always wrote. And I liked the rhythm, I liked the rhyme of just speaking out my words in this kind of story-like way. And I kind of realized that that's what poetry is. My goal isn't to sell you or to convince you why I love poetry. My goal is to show it off, and hopefully you enjoy it. A few days ago, I was in a writing mood, and I wrote a few poems that I'm going to read to you today. The first poem that I wrote is called Congratulations. Congratulations, you're alive. Hypocrisies flood your mind. Evidence of your growth, evidence of your existence. I remember when I started thinking, started my own journal, writing consistently. I never put the pen down. I wrote until my body couldn't, until I exhausted myself to sleep. Lately, my pen has been inconsistent, running out of ink, leaving small traces of my life. But sometimes my art, my mind, they collide. And then my pen bursts. This poem isn't a problem to solve, it's a question. One that asks, when does it stop? When does it stop writing? Is that why I can't sleep? Is that why I wake? Sometimes the rest feels like a distraction. Congratulations, you live, but I can tell something's died. And you've been spending all your real estate trying to revive, trying to see if you can be free. My poems as of late have been very questioning. I've been on a journey of figuring out why do I live? Why does anything matter? Maybe not in a nihilistic way, more so in a questioning way. I just want to wonder, what is my purpose? I don't think life is meaningless, but I want to find what makes life meaningful to me. And I think this poem itself conveys that struggling of finding that thing, finding that purpose, that I've grown, but I'm still so confused, maybe still naive. But when it's all said and done, I let those feelings settle, and I get to a bigger consensus of how I should move forward. And that led me into this second poem that I wrote on this day, called Butterfly. Butterfly. Delicate, intricate, beautiful. Its sole purpose is to fly, to breed and to eat, to survive. There's beauty in simplicity. Given the gift of reason, its beauty would now diminish, as now it's aware of its beauty. It would dedicate its life to something otherwise useless. To be human is to be free. Given choice, how do you live your life? Do you strive for power, wisdom, perfection? To be human is to be flawed. So don't strive to be something you're not. Instead, utilize your gifts to understand the butterfly. Fly with the sole purpose of finding who you are. I think one of my biggest things for me was confidence. I didn't have confidence who I was or why I did anything. I believed that I didn't deserve the gifts that I was given. That I was intelligent, but with no direction. It was useless. And a few years ago, I started wondering, well, why was I given this intelligence? Why can't I strive to do good things? And I think it's because it's part of this journey of being who this person is, who I am, and who I'm trying to be. And I think in some ways these poems are almost my own brain trying to delude me and help me stay in the delusion of thinking that I can do it all and that I can be successful and I can be the greatest. And I get in my head so much, as evidence of the last poem and even this poem. But I always have to kind of trick myself into saying, no, you have to keep going. You have to keep striving. Because if you don't, no one's going to motivate you to continue. My thoughts sometimes are a little clouded. So if it doesn't make all complete sense right now, I hope in time it does. I think poetry is the single-handedly most beautiful thing that I've ever done. And I have no idea if that beauty will be reciprocated. But one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that nothing matters. If you don't like it, then there's no point. Everything you should be doing is to try to be a better version of yourself and try to prove a point to yourself. You should never try to prove something to somebody else. It can be a motivation of yours, but motivation is fleeting. Mindset is forever. And I've learned is, if you're not trying to elevate, if you're not trying to be better than the previous you, then you will always stay stagnant. And you will never grow, and you will never amount to anything. And I don't desire to be like that. So I would try with every willpower in my being to be the best version of myself, because I believe that I'm meant for something greater. And maybe that's evidence in the delusion that I've written. In my hope, in my own delusion, maybe in this own reality, is to help others elevate. Because none of this matters unless you are happy being you.